Terence Crawford snakes Errol Spence, says 147 or no rematch. What's good, everybody? It's your boy, Cardinal Red Sports. Let's talk about it. Alright, y'all, so reports are flying around today that Terence Crawford will not give Errol Spence a rematch unless it's at 147 pounds. This is not from any official news source just yet, but it's being reported by a lot of content creators, and I just wanted to give my 1,000 nickels on what's going on and break it down for anybody left.
For you to put this over here, only at 147, you said you struggle to make 147, knowing that Spence can't make 147. To me, this is like a weasel move to try to get out and try to just go for the money. I get it. Canelo would be a huge money fight for anyone, but let's be real, man. Spence gave you he moved the earth to get this fight.
All right, y'all. So Terence Bud Crawford. Bud has spoken.
Raw dog has spoken.
Basically. And he said that he will not give Errol Spence a rematch unless the fight takes place at 147 pounds. And my initial reaction to this was, wow, what a snake. This guy is the lowest of lows when it comes to being, a stand-up individual, a stand-up human being. And I think it goes back to not only the Bob Arum situation, but Bud Crawford, being jealous of the success that Errol Spence has had, the popularity that Errol Spence has had.
Yeah, nigga, you won't be laughing after 5 won't get a hold of this motherfucking tape.
Now, granted, there has been some crazy stuff said about Terence Crawford, in the build-up to this fight over the past 5 years. But you cannot deny the fact that Terence Crawford seems to want to play difficult with everybody. And to me, I think that goes back to him feeling slighted by Bob Arum, feeling like, hey, I didn't make the money I should have made. Look how big of a star Errol Spence became. Look how much money he made.
Terence, like everybody other fighter, looks at the green, the dollars.
My decision is made already. Bob couldn't secure me the Spence fight when I was with him. So how you going to secure me the Spence fight when I'm not with him?
In the time that elapsed through his career, those 5 years that we were trying to make the fight, and look at the amount of money that I've made. And I think this is a little payback on behalf of Terence Crawford. I also feel like it's very bad business on behalf of Terence Crawford. Now, once again, this isn't official yet, but if this is all true and it's sounding very true, then he's not a very good businessman. He's very sneaky with his tactics. He's very underhanded with his tactics. And he almost baits you into stuff the same way I felt like that he does in the ring, to where he kind of, not that he plays like a role of a punk or something, but it's almost like he plays a role of a punk and lets people bully him around to hype himself up to want to win a fight. Plays that background role and lets everybody else be a tough guy around him. And when he catches them off guard, he kind of pulls the rug out from underneath from him, for lack of a better word. He's one of those type of guys. And to be honest with you, I think that, once again, it goes back to the Bob Arum not making the money he wanted, watching Errol Spence make all that money, him getting jealous of Errol Spence and the money and the popularity. And people are saying that they were going to smoke Terence Crawford. I think all of that was a build-up to this type of reaction, to this type of shady business tactics by Terence Crawford.
Oh, my goodness. And when were they planning such treachery?
A week from now? 3 o'clock.
I mean, he's not doing anything illegal, but you all but said yes to everything after the fight. When they asked you, hey, we all know that in the contract that there's a rematch clause and the winner gets to decide where the rematch is going to take place. He said, I would have no problems with fighting Errol Spence at 154 pounds. Now we're a few weeks later. I think he's realized that that wasn't the best version of Errol Spence. I think he's realized a stronger 154 Errol Spence might actually tax that ass And I think he's a little worried. On top of all that, you got Bomac in jail.
I gave you what you wanted. You don't give me what I wanted.
You gonna kill me over some pizza?
Yes. I gave you pizza, but you don't give me pizza? That's just deep, bro. That's deep.
You know, here's the thing about the Bomac situation. I think that this is also a stall tactic for Terence Crawford. And I wholeheartedly believe Errol Spence is going to take the rematch, whether it's at 147 or 154. How he prepares is going to be the question mark. But Terence Crawford, I think, is actually using this as a stall tactic because he doesn't know what's going on with Bomac. And until they figure out what's going on with Bomac, I don't think you're going to hear anything definitive about, this fight. I think that's the reason for him lashing out on Twitter as well. Is I don't think Bomac's coming home anytime soon, and I think he's just taking it out on the public.
I'm a veteran! Applebee's has rats!
So he might be saying this now, but in a month, when we all find out what's going to happen with Bomac, because I think he has to wait till October the 9th before he finds out whether he's going to get bail or whether they're going to hold him until his trial. He's most likely going to get some time off of this, whether it's a few months or a year or so. That's the real question. But, if Bomac's not there, you can best believe that Terence Crawford is probably not going to have the same showing.
You gonna pull out a knife on me over some fucking pizza?
Yes. You want to die?
Do you want to die? Go put the fucking knife down if I slap the shit out of you. Go put it down!
And there could be a lot of hiccups within his camp. So, to me, I feel like this is just a little stall. Terence Crawford doesn't want to, actually try to make the fight right now in 2023. He wants to probably wait until 2024 until he finds out what's going to happen with Bomac. Perhaps Bomac makes bail and is allowed to come over here for a short time until his trial, and they can get the Errol Spence fight done in between all of that. And then Bomac can go do his little time or whatever. But more than likely, I think that that's one of the reasons for this information coming out this way, and it's not being officially official. Now, when it comes to whether Errol Spence can actually win this rematch, especially if it's at 147 pounds, I think that that's spite on behalf of Terence Crawford. To be honest, I think that Errol Spence has to maintain his weight. I don't see why he can't win. He's beaten all these other great welterweights, and he's been at welterweight for 10 years. One more fight's not going to kill you. Now, off the last fight, you would think that, okay, maybe it will kill you because you had a horrible showing for your last 147 fight. But there was so much stuff that went on during that camp, plus Terence Crawford agreeing to the fight randomly was another, I think red flag that should have been picked up by Spence and his team. But I think that threw them into a tizzy. Some people say he got hurt. I don't know. It's never been officially announced, and I don't think that Errol Spence is ever going to put that out there. But let's just say all of that's right. He was weight drained. Terence Crawford knew that. He injured himself during all that, and he couldn't lose the weight correctly. On top of that, he didn't spar for 6 weeks before the fight. So all of that in a myriad, if Errol Spence was to go in there and none of that stuff was to happen, I think you get a different result at 147, whether he has to fight there or at 154. I think you're going to get a different result if Errol Spence can spar, if Errol Spence doesn't have the weight drain, and if he knows when the fight's going to take place and it's not going to be some type of surprise to him, then we're going to get a totally different result in the rematch. And to end it off, I think Terence Crawford is shooting himself in the foot once again. Now, he shot himself in the foot by getting all the titles and not realizing all the sanctioning fees. Now, he doesn't want to fight any other welterweights. I think he shot himself in the foot by not understanding the rematch clause, because I don't think he anticipated to beat Errol Spence that easily. I think he shot himself in the foot by believing that was the real version of Errol Spence. I think he's shot himself in the foot again by showing people that he's difficult to work with. Why would Canelo want to work with you now when he knows that you do shady business tactics? Why would Charlo want to work with you now that he knows you do shady business tactics? The only people that are going to want to work with you are people at 147 that know that they can whoop your ass. And there's only one name there that I think that can definitively whoop his ass, and that is Jerron Boots Ennis. So you got nowhere else to go, bud. You're going to either have to fight Spence or Boots anyway. And Boots is going to destroy you, and I think because of all this shiesty stuff that you're doing to Spence, best believe Spence, PBC, and everybody else involved with them is going to want to destroy you and your ego as well.
I have a low self-esteem. This guy gives me this big fucking ego. You know, I live by the rules of that ego, and I've accomplished so much. It was a weird environment growing up that way. You know, because we as people, we try to avoid fights. For my instincts, we avoid fights for all our life. This is what you do for a job, a lifestyle. It was like taking a big drug that could loose you, just boom, it felt like you're the man. Then everybody's telling you you're great.
Y'all let me know what y'all think about all that down in the comment section below. That like button for me. Sure. Subscribe. Holler at me on all social media platforms. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. But you're more than likely to get a response on the tube, so holler at me over there. If you want to collabo, feature a product or your channel on my channel, feel free to hit my Gmail, because it is a flock of cards at gmail.com. And we are
Show me love when I'm on the block. I got songs for the chicks, songs for the thugs, songs for the radio, songs for the club. Can't forget the streets, I got a post up. Cops roll up, treat me like a soul drug. Throw me in the club, spend the night in jail, then you hate me to the judge, acting like he got a grudge. I ain't tripping, just set a player free. They ain't even tripping, I just gotta pay a fee. Drop a little cheese, then I'm back on the street. Yeah, I ain't learned shit, still selling CDs. The whole world gon' know about me. Hit the grind, get money, what you know about keys, man, yo.
To my Newburgh place, Middletown. To my Beach Church place. To my Village West place. Arcade.
Show me love when I'm on your block.
Cincinnati.
Show me love when I'm on your block.
Cashville.
Show me love when I'm on your block. Loose keys on the grind and it's ready to pop. Show me love when I'm on your block.
Hey yo, they copy my shit. Remember you and White Player copy my shit. Never thought I'd make music for a profit, but look at me now. Everybody look at me smile, wave their hands and bow. Girl with the style, kill them with the sales pitch, put them on your track. I guarantee you sales quick. I got vodka and ginger ale mix. I'm trying to get the mail, bitch. Loose key.
Go hard. Show me love when I'm on your block. Show me love when I'm on your block. Show me love when I'm on your block. Loose keys on the grind and it's ready to pop. Make sure you show me love when I'm on your block.
To my West End place.